hey, we're all going to have a great time then.
That's right. We could, I suppose, as a special dispensation, they might open the gates of Downing Street and allow us to peer through the window at their feasts. You know,
and the platter and the turkey and all the jelly, the trifle.
Oh, can you imagine? Bring your own bowl, Charles. And when you say, please, sir, can I have some? Expect the answer, where is it?
No.
There it is. And furthermore...
No.
I haven't done this for such a while, I forget where some of these are. I'm reacquainting myself. Thanks a lot, Charles. Yeah, can you believe that? The very people that are visiting this upon us are not going to be suffering from it. And the reason, of course, why the Westminster council tax is the lowest in England is because the government subsidises that council. Because it's their showpiece. They did the same with Wandsworth. I used to live in Wandsworth, and the council tax was so small it was virtually invisible to the naked eye. Tiny. That's because it was a showpiece council, and the government made sure to pour a boatload of money in there, and then said, look, this Conservative-led council, look how great they're doing. Just because an enormous amount of everybody's money in the country went to prop up that council, to demonstrate to the rest of the land the munificence of a Conservative leader of the council. The PM and the Chancellor pay the levy at their grace and favour residences, as in free. Council tax in Westminster is the lowest in England, a Band D property liable for £827 a year. That's less than half the national average. I may have misspoken earlier. Both Downing Street apartments are in Band H. Now that comes with a £1,655 bill for council tax per year. £1,655. The same band in Nottingham is not 1,655, it's 4,451. So the billionaire Rishi Sunak is paying 1,655. Someone in Nottingham is paying 4,451. I mean, it's just staggering, isn't it? I can't believe it. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Paul says the government was shocked and surprised that P&O planned to sack their staff, and then shocked and surprised that a couple of days later, hang on a minute, what? The government was shocked and surprised that P&O planned to sack all their staff, then shocked and surprised again a couple of days later when they did it as they forgot. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. How about this? It gets worse, everybody. Prepare yourself.
Oh, no.
Unions and the Labour Party have demanded immediate action over the sacking of 800 British crew by P&O Ferries, including suspending the licences of the parent company, DP World. Well, they're not going to do that because they're investing in free ports. Plus, it's that's the place where all the oil comes from. And he was over there just the other day, crawling across the carpet on his hands and knees, begging for them to turn on the taps. And I do believe they said no. The Shadow Transport Secretary, Louise Hay, said, this was a despicable assault on workers, but British seafarers do not need meaningless platitudes, they need action. She's written to the Prime Minister, oh, yeah, that'll work, proposing that the government should claw back taxpayers' money, claimed by DP World, including £10 million in furlough payments. 10 million quid we gave them to keep those people in work, and then they fired them anyway. I'll get to the good bit in a minute. The Defence Minister, James Heappey. You know James Heappey, the Defence Minister? No! Yeah, that's him. He said on Friday morning that it would be the right thing to do for P&O to hand back £10 million in furlough money, calling the company's behaviour disgraceful. Huh. Is that the same James Heappey that voted against the law to ban, fire and rehire? Yeah, I believe it is the very same one. Disgraceful. Sources at the Department for Transport said it was made aware... Here it is. You ready? Sources at the Department for Transport said that it was made aware of the impending mass sackings and suspension of ferry services on Wednesday night. Boris Johnson's spokesperson said on Thursday, quotes, "We weren't given any notice of this."
What?
Let that sink in for a moment. Is there any subject at any time that this Prime Minister has told the truth about? I'll make it really easy for you. Anything. At all. They were told about it the night before it happened. When asked, they said, no, we were not told about it. He's a space hopper of Tourette's lying. It just pours out of him. The RMT Union's General Secretary, Mick Lynch, said the fact that the government knew the day before that a foreign-owned company planned to cause major disruption to UK ports but did nothing to prevent it is shocking. No, it isn't. It's not surprising at all. You haven't been paying attention. Still, it's actually nice to talk about something other than the you-know-what. Even if it is this. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Mole texts, and another thing. The DP World London Gateway Port is fully automated and employs very few actual people. Free ports are likely to be fully automated going forward, as DP World have already demonstrated in Thurrock. Oh, well, I'll just go to the foot of our stairs. That's our future. We're all going to get fired and replaced with robots.
Affirmative.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
And I can't stand him.
Tim emails, I think Boris needs to resign. As a Conservative voter, I think Kwasi Kwarteng is our best hope of winning the next election. You can't really tell tone from an email, but I assume you're joking. Funny, no?
No.
Neil tweets, the poor and conned vote Tory because they want to be like them, hoping that some of the toffs' accents and money will rub off on them. And when it doesn't, they can at least bask in their reflective glory. There's some truth to that. What they do is they sell you the fantasy of a better life, of making it, of becoming rich, with the notion that all we need to do to release you to become enormously successful is to get rid of all of these dreadful laws that protect people like you. But the truth is, unless you were born rich, it is vanishingly unlikely that you will become rich. But it's the fantasy. It's what makes people buy a lottery ticket. It's the same as saying, you know what, you don't need to pay attention in school because Richard Branson. There'll always be an example, but the example does not reflect reality for 99.99 recurring % of the population. Stevenage, hello VJ.
Hi, Nick. Couple of things. Good show. First of all, does Britain owe Iran the interest on the 400 million they had for 40 years?
Yeah, I don't know whether we were paying it all the time. I've got absolutely no idea, but yes, we do, of course.
Yeah, and it'd probably be all the money that we're spending on this train line to the north and so on.
Oh,
so
easily.
That's pretty easily.
I mean, I don't know what, because it'd be compound interest, of course. So I don't know what the interest on 400 million pounds from 1979 is. Yeah,
it's quite a few billion. But the whole deal has been kept hush-hush, and apparently they can't reveal it to the public what it is. But apparently there's a...
Right.
And second one is, have you ever thought about applying as a presenter for Question Time on the BBC? Because you would be very good.
No, I wouldn't.
Because their ratings have gone right down to hardly anything. At the moment, it's very rubbish, but I think you would do a great job.
I would do a terrible job. I'll leave it to the experts.
No, you are the expert.
No,
you
I'm
don't talk yourself
absolutely.
that. You are.
I'm not. But thanks very much, VJ.
Yeah, you're a breath of fresh air. Thank you.
Pass your suggestion on to somebody who could actually do a good job, like James O'Brien or Nick Ferrari, for instance. Thanks, VJ. 0345 6060 973. Gaz tweets, Nick, it's prejudice, fear of the other side. It's as simple as that, and they play it every time, predominantly in the Murdoch right-wing press. We need to start a debate on whether to have politics on the national curriculum. I think that time has come. Oh, God, can you imagine how much of a twisted mess the Conservatives would tie themselves into, trying to police what kids are taught under politics in school. It'd make it illegal to even mention the Labour Party under threat of a thrashing. 10 years imprisonment for causing a disturbance. Clapham. Hello, Anna.
Hello. Oh, is that Nick Abbott?
Is that Anna?
Yes, you are my hot date on Friday.
Wow.
Do you know that?
I don't. Well, I do now.
Well, yes, I have spoken to you before. The thing is, I wanted to talk to you about something serious, but you've had me and my friend here giggling so much.
Stop giggling.
But I'm finding it rather difficult now to talk about a serious matter.
Well, now, wait a minute. Is the radio on in the background? Because I hear a mumbling.
Yes, Alexa, stop.
Yes.
Alexa, shut up.
That's exactly right. Alexa, just stop. Stop it right now.
Alexa, stop. Oh, she's very contrary, you know.
She is getting some attitude.
Oh, she certainly is. She doesn't behave. Have you? It was my eldest son who introduced me to Alexa. He said, "Mummy, you've got to have Alexa because she'll do everything. Turn your lights on." Oh, I don't know how that works, but she does play music, and I, you know. But the unfortunate thing is,
what kind of music do you get Alexa to play?
Well, you know, when I've spoken to you before, we share something in common, Dr. John.
Dr. John, right. Right place, wrong time. Right place, wrong time.
Absolutely. And and so she is able. My son brought me this Alexa thing and said you can ask for Dr. John or whoever when you want.
Right.
I'm not getting to grips with her because she's rather contrary.
Play music in the Dr. John manner, and there'll be all sorts of Zydeco and Narland's music and all of that good stuff.
Other things.
Of course.
And also, you and I have one other thing in common that we discussed, which was the movie. You see, I'm losing my brain.
Koyaanisqatsi.
No. A movie that was supposed to be a comedy. That was about degeneration, evolution.
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. That's it. We've already discussed that.
Well, there's a newer one. There's a new thing on that plane on that.
In that genre.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I was getting stuck on that tip, and I didn't want to use that phrase because that sounds like a DJ. Hey!
A new genre.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the same.
What is it?
Same genre. It's a brand new film, and it's very, very, very good. It's called
what?
Don't Look Up.
Oh, I've seen that. Wasn't that brilliant?
It was very good. In fact, I want to see it again.
So do I.
I want to see it more.
10 days ago.
so no. But so what was it you called about there, Anna?
I was actually calling up about something quite serious because you're the only person that takes my calls. So we've gone through all that. And I was going to say there's all this business about accepting Ukrainians into our homes.
Yeah.
But we haven't thought about the Russians. Now, I have just, 10 days ago, got a Russian here.
Mm.
No well, I'm not going to say her name, and you don't know my surname, and so all of that's fine.
No. Where did you find her?
What?
Where'd you find her?
I'm not going to tell you all that because that would compromise her.
Okay.
Because there are Russians now who are leaving.
Yeah, that's right.
They're scared out of their wits.
With good reason.
Well, precisely. So, you see, I don't think we're taking the whole... You see, so this is a bit serious, but I find it difficult now to be serious because I've been giggling so much.
Well, I think that it's getting to the point that we're going to have to start a new country. We're going to have to build a country out in the middle of the sea somewhere for people who don't want to live in Russia and they're fleeing from Ukraine. And pretty soon, what with it's going to be illegal to say bad things about the regime in this country, people are going to be leaving here as well.
Well, that's a point. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Because I have always admired you. I've been listening to you for years because you are... do you know, I have actually cancelled dinner parties to listen to you.
You know that you can listen back on as a podcast. You don't actually have to listen to it live.
No, I'm not smart enough to know how to use podcasts.
All you have to do...
I'm a woman of a certain age,
Anna,
darling.
you already have the tools at your disposal. She's a little thing with a light on the top whose name begins with A. You can't say it out loud because you'll burst into life.
No, I really am a computer numpty. I don't know how to use the podcast. I don't know how to use anything like that.
Just ask Alexa.
Oh, can I ask Alexa? Could I ask Alexa to play Nick Abbot?
She will do anything you want.
Have you heard her?
See.
She's just started up. Alexa, shut up. Alexa, shut up.
Shut up, Alexa. Seriously.
Yeah, you know, she did. You're right. I asked her to play you, and she started playing you.
Playing me. There you go, you see. Perfect.
Isn't that amazing?
I am stunned.
But what do you think about the point? Oh, please, and do you know who I miss on your show? That the girl who calls in, who has a high little voice like that, and she always starts talking to you about nonsense.
Yeah,
and then
that sounds like this show.
No, and then she gets down to something really serious.
Right. Well, I've got absolutely no idea. You described 50% of the people. While there's no must about it, Anna.
What do you mean there's no must?
You said you must know.
Someone who rings you regularly.
Yeah, I know. You just described her in detail, and I've got absolutely... I don't listen to this show, Anna. Seriously. Would I waste my time listening to this show? The host is an idiot.
No, but when you talk to her, you obviously know her.
Right. Well, I don't know anybody that calls to this that calls in this show. I wipe my mind clean the moment this show ends. Believe me, I remember nothing.
And then what do? You just have a laugh with your motor cars? Because I'm very interested in your motor cars.
Well, one is... It's more like a sort of a sculpture in that it doesn't actually work as a car. It just sits under a plastic bag in the driveway, does nothing. It's useless. And the other, when the last 2 days... It has been a sand receptacle. I think half of the Sahara blew over this country. Every single car in the land is absolutely filthy. But anyway, Anna, it's been a delight. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Yeah, that podcast that I do with Carol McGiffin, by the way. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol.
Oh, right, yeah.
In which Carol McGiffin and I try to solve people's problems while laughing like drains. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? I think you'll find it a laugh.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at midnight, Boris Johnson says President Putin underestimated Western unity and is more convinced than ever that Russia will fail in its invasion of Ukraine. The Prime Minister told Scottish Conservatives that almost 150,000 British families have already offered to house refugees. He claims Scotland could lead the way in punishing Russia by developing the domestic energy market.
There's one crucial way that we can all begin to help the world to stand up to Putin, and that is to wean ourselves off dependence on his oil and gas.
Bosses at P&O insist the decision to sack 800 people was a last resort amid big financial problems. They've admitted the workers affected weren't given warning, and ministers have told them to expect ramifications. Protests took place yesterday in Dover, Hull, Liverpool and London. But the way they did it has led to 2 government ministers writing to the company demanding answers. They addressed the letter through to Robert Woods, who left last year.
I resigned as the chairman of P&O Ferries last year. I'm not chairman anymore. I wasn't on the board. Yeah.
Your involvement, though, with P&O ended a year ago.
Yeah, with P&O Ferries ended last year. Yeah.
What's your view of what's happening?
Don't like it at all, but that's life, isn't it? The company was in very poor financial situation.
Letters have now been sent to the correct chief executive. 15-year-old girl who was strip-searched by police called to her school in London is thanking the public for their support. The Met has apologised and said it shouldn't have happened. A report found racism was likely to have played a part and that 3 officers are now being investigated. And the deadline for the prospective buyers of Chelsea Football Club to submit their bids passed last night. Investment firm Ethel Partners, a consortium featuring Lord Coe and British businessman Nick Candy, are among those who've confirmed their takeover attempts. There have been reportedly close to 200 interested parties in all. Russian owner Roman Abramovich is selling the Premier League side after he was sanctioned by the UK government, though he isn't allowed to take any of the proceeds under the terms. LBC weather, another dry and bright day today, lots of sunshine, mild to start with though, and a high of 17. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Serena Farrow.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
One of your fans!
I was just trying to look up the state of the company that owns P&O because people are saying, oh well, they ain't got no. I know I'm a bit off mic at the moment. I'm going through my papers. Very important papers. It comes and it comes. Wait a minute. Absolutely fabulous that was, by the way. One moment, please. God, I've got so much stuff. I've got so much bump. That's what it's called. I can't find it, so I'll just make it up. They made, I think the turnover was over £1 billion a year. What? And they made, I can't remember how many hundreds of millions, but I think they passed on to their shareholders and, rewarded the bosses for excellence in every regard, something in the order of £200 million in 1 year. Doesn't sound like they're doing badly. I mean, one part of the company might not have been doing very well, but I suppose that was all the fault of the workers and nothing to do with the management. Why is it always the workers that have to pay for the poor running of a company? Like the governor of the Bank of England just the other day, he said, oh, well, we can't have people, asking for more money for, to try and make their way through life. We can't have wages spiralling upwards because that would be disastrous for the economy. Well, here's a novel idea. How about companies just to make do with making less profits? Is that possible in any way, shape or form?
No.
No, of course not. Companies must continue making their profits. It's the workers that have got to suffer. And the workers keep voting for the party that makes this happen over and over and over again. But, they knew what they were voting for, as I've been told about 1 million times. Thornton Heath, hello, Noel.
Hello, Nick.
Noel.
Yeah, so I'll just turn the radio down, yeah.
Do you have a persistent cough?
No, not really, no.
Okay. All right, then.
I think it's a habit, you know.
Right.
Okay, Nick, do you remember you mentioned earlier that how could one person be holding a gun to 6 billion people's head?
Yes.
I think that was it. But it's more than one person. The problem started at the Arab Spring when the failure of the Obama administration to control ISIS.
Oh, and, it's Barack Obama's fault. I had no idea.
He did a lot of good, but then comes along the Russians, destroyed ISIS, so they had a lot of support in America, they had a lot of support over here, and then comes along Donald Trump, which was a savior for Putin. Do you remember when he was inaugurated, Putin phoned him and said, congratulations, Your Excellency. Do you remember that? You didn't hear that, no?
I don't remember anything of the sort, no.
But so supposing I phoned... Yeah, that's what he did. He said that, yeah. Supposing I phoned you and I said, hello, Nick, and then you replied, hello, Noel, Your Excellency.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that, would you?
It's
because,
unlikely.
You put a person on a higher plane than yourself. But he only did that in order to... because he knows that Trump has got low mentality to get Trump on his side, you see. Okay, well, within the first 6 months of Trump's presidency, he invited the Russians over, and after about 40 minutes, he kicked out all the Americans. And who was to say what happened in that meeting?
Yeah, we've got absolutely no idea. That part...
I personally believe that they opened a case and injected Trump with nanoprobes.
Well,
I seriously believe
that makes
or a control
perfect sense, yes.
And do you remember you had Simon Marks on about 2 weeks ago?
Can we talk about the nanoprobes? So Donald Trump's got Russian nanoprobes coursing through his veins in order to keep him in control.
It has gotten totally out of control.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactamonto. Or a control drug. Do you remember Simon Marks said that 2 weeks ago that the majority of the Republican Party are pro-Russian, or was it a Russian apologist or something? And who's to say that he did not take that case and administer to them?
Nanoprobes, right.
Yeah.
Okay, you're making a lot of sense, Noel.
Bing bong!
By which I mean none at all. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Does anybody have any idea what that meant?
No.
But it was educational. Stuff you learn on this show, eh? Joe texts, Nick, in 1979, Thatcher made it... I cannot say that name without, spitting it out like that. Because I was at university in 1979. And I have to tell you that everybody I went to university with said her name in the exact same way. Margaret Thatcher. Nick, in 1979, says Joe, Thatcher made it her number one priority to smash workers' defence organisations, as in trade unions, associations and collectives, and that's why P&O are able to do what they've done today. Thanks a lot, Maggie. Darryl says, automation is a good thing.
Affirmative.
It could give everyone more leisure time. Yeah, right. But we would need universal basic income to supplement it, says Darryl. Well, think of all the things that were sold to us as increasing our leisure time. Like steam irons. So let's go way back to the 1950s, shall we? Steam irons and washing machines. People used to have to go down to the river and beat their clothes on rocks. So imagine how much free time you'd have if you had an automatic rock-beating machine to wash your clothes in your kitchenette. God, wouldn't that be marvellous? And then vacuum cleaners, so you didn't have to hoover, and we can fast forward to computers. Well, now we've all got a computer in our house, haven't we all freed up our time?
No.
Of course not. We're working more hours than ever before. People are working from the moment they wake up. They reach over and they pick up their phone to see their work emails. And they look at their work emails over their breakfast. and then they go down to the bus or the train or whatever it might be, and they're looking at their work emails, and they're doing their work on the way into work. So they don't start at 9 and finish at 5 anymore, because the same process is repeated on the way home. So you're working from about 7 in the morning to 7 at night, because of all of these labour-saving devices, which aren't anything of the sort. So don't believe it for a second. We may have, and I think what perhaps he means by leisure time is we'll all get fired. Universal basic income would be a good idea if we had a regime that was remotely interested in the welfare of its people. But if the people will continue to vote for a party that is not remotely interested in their welfare, then I guess everybody deserves what they get. Gina tweets, "You hit it on the nail, Nick. It's these bloomin' dinghies. Same folk that voted Brexit because of all those bloomin' immigrants coming over here and taking our jobs, the jobs that are mysteriously now vacant." Yeah, that is a good point. If only somebody had said something before we voted. But I didn't hear a single solitary person who said that it might be a bad idea to leave the European Union. Not one person. Dereliction of duty. Stockwell. Hello, Seb.
Oh, hi there, Nick.
Seb.
Hello.
Yes, Seb.
Hi. Completely agree with your latest bits about the computers at home and things like that. It's definitely not saving anyone any time.
No.
And we are all stressed. Everyone is.
Everybody is stressed.
But definitely what most people are doing is not having that one-to-one relationship that they used to have with the person sat across the way from them.
Nobody is remotely interested in speaking to the person that they're with. They're too busy looking at their phone, typing messages to somebody they aren't with.
Yeah, it's very sad. And I've lost quite a lot of friends through it, and I'm sure everyone else has as well. It's just really, yes, I'm sure it wasn't intended to be like that, but that's how it's ended up, hasn't it?
It's odd, though, that the internet is actually the best and the worst of almost anything you can think of. But I guess it's just the extremes of what human beings are like.
Yes, probably.
I mean, it's the best tool of information that has ever been invented, but it is also the best tool of misinformation that has ever been invented. Yeah. It's the best tool of freedom, but it's also the best tool of control and observation. Not observation of what is it when an evil organisation is peering at you all the time? What's that word?
Surveillance.
Surveillance, that'll do. We'll go with that one. It's the best tool of surveillance that has ever been invented. What your phone does not know about you is not worth printing. It knows more about you than you do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Most definitely. So I was calling, actually, and it's a kind of... you asked the question, why do people that don't earn much money or have much money vote Conservative? And I thought, I know the answer to that. And because I've not got any money. And I did vote Conservative. I did also vote for Remain with Brexit.
Remain?
Yeah.
A Ramona?
Stop whining.
But it was a 50-50, and it was almost I had to flip a coin on the day of voting.
Right.
So I've gone.
Where's he gone? He just cut himself off. Phones should actually come with instructions. He's probably put himself on mute. He thinks I can still hear him because he's still there on the bottom. There you are.
It's my earlobe. It just keeps doing it again. Another piece.
He's just done it again.
That's not working.
Your earlobe is cutting you off.
It presses the mute button. Can you believe it? I know.
Well, put us on this one time only. Put us on speakerphone.
Yeah, you're on.
How can your earlobe put it on mute? Doesn't your screen go black when you put it to your head?
Well, my ear's at the side of my head, so I can't see what the screen's doing.
Well, that's a very good point. He's one of those people whose ears are at the side of his head.
Yes. No. Amazing.
You want to get one of these newfangled phones. Seriously, my screen shuts off when you put it to your head, and to stop that very thing. How old is your phone?
Well, I don't know, 4 years old?
Well, then it should have that facility. Maybe you've accidentally switched it off with your earlobe.
Maybe I have, yeah. I'll have to look at my updates. I'm sure I'm up to date. But yes, it's a slightly older phone than most people have now, but it's a high up number.
Okay.
Without telling you what it is.
Right.
So going back to the original. So why do people vote Conservative? Well, because the other side causes even more problems.
Do they? In what sense?
So when Labour was in, my council tax doubled in 5 years. The tax that I paid from my income threshold didn't go up for, was it 6 years, 9 years?
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, Gordon Brown didn't put it up for 6 years, and then I think there was 3 years before that. So the tax threshold, so more of my money was just going into tax, and at the lower end. And actually, what the Conservatives did with the coalition was, really lift that quite high.
Yes,
from
Seb.
6,000 to 12.
Right, but
I know that's now stalled again.
Right. Okay. Well, let me tell you why that is a false argument. Because tax cuts overwhelmingly benefit the rich. If you earn £20,000, let's make it really simple.
Yeah.
Never mind about the tax-free amount at the beginning. So if you earn 20 grand and the tax is at 10%, then you pay 2 grand in tax.
Yeah.
If they reduce it by 1%, then you save 200 quid. If you are poor enough to earn 20 grand a year. If you earn £2 million a year, then you will have saved £2,000. No, wait, £20,000.
Yeah.
So tax cuts always benefit the rich. And then, of course, it's what they spend the tax on, which also benefits the poor. It's on welfare and care and the NHS and the police and the safety net for those balancing on the line of poverty and the majority of us who are just about getting by, which is what the countries with the happiest people do. They charge a bit more in tax and then they spend it on creating a happier people. It's this false argument that the Tories push, that the right wing always push, that if we reduce your tax, you'll be happier. But it's the opposite of that, because the vast chunk of the money that is freed up goes to those who are already rich, and those that are poorer, who rely on the state for all of the things I just mentioned, the safety net, they get nothing, because they have to cut that in order to feed the tax cuts for the rich. But it makes you feel as though you're getting more money. But then curiously, after a while, you think, well, yeah, but everything's worse and I'm less happy. So whose fault's that then? Tax cuts only benefit the rich. It's a false economy for those who have got little to vote for the party that is the party of the tax cuts. But thanks, Seb. 0345 6060 973.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Thank you for holding. Your call is important to us.
This important call in Morden is from a person called Shirley. Shirley.
Yes. How are you?
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going back a few hours ago.
Yes.
Some of the things you said.
Couple of 3 hours ago.
Yeah. I want to know why you constantly criticise the Conservative Party.
You want to know why I constantly criticise the Conservative Party? Why I'm a big meanie?
Yes.
Well, let's see. They've been in power for the last 12 years. They've been in power for 2/3 of the time since the Second World War. So literally everything that is wrong with this country is their fault. So there's that.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm a child of the 60s.
Child of the 60s?
Yes. So I grew up in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I remember the lights going out. And we had nothing.
Right.
And I remember when I turned 18 and Mrs. Thatcher was in power.
Yeah.
I know you don't like that.
No.
and I got a chance to vote. I lived my life in the 70s, and it was terrible.
Well, I lived my life in the 70s, and it was...
Yeah.
It was... you didn't really realise how grubby and awful things were in the 70s until you look at a TV programme that was made in the 70s now. And it looks like... kind of looks like... well, not like Ukraine exactly, but it looks like a war zone. I mean, there's just rubble everywhere and everything didn't work and it was just rubbish, yeah. But that was the case in America and in every other country on Earth. That wasn't just Britain.
Anyway, I got a chance to buy my own property.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s...
So you're all right, Jack? Is that what you're saying?
No. I got a chance to buy my own property. And then in the 90s, I went through Blair, and we went through where I couldn't eat, and nor could my kids, and I lived on credit cards.
So that was Tony Blair's fault?
Yes.
How so?
Because, let me put it back to the future now.
Back to the future.
I'm better now, but in every Labour Party, I've suffered.
Right.
with the Conservative Party, I've never.
You've never suffered under a Conservative administration?
No.
Right. OK. Duly noted. Thanks a lot, Shirley. I mean, I could argue about that, but really, what's the point? Gina tweets, you hit the nail on the head, Nick. Have I read this one? Oh, yeah, I have. It's the blooming dinghies. I lived through the 1970s. And for Tory voters and politicians, still, even now, after 12 years of Conservative rule, they are still blaming everything that ails this nation on the Labour Party. It's incredible. Right up to the very top. Even his imperial bodgeness himself.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Anytime anything is wrong, it's all Jeremy Corbyn's fault. Or under the last Labour administration, if only they had ruled 100% of the time since the year dot, then maybe they wouldn't be blaming Labour all the time. It's incredible. And buying a house when houses were so cheap they were giving them away with 10 gallons of petrol is not necessarily has anything to do with the Conservative Party, apart from the fact that they sold council houses off on the cheap to people such as that person that I was just speaking to. And the result of that is that, of course, every young person under the age of 50 in this country now hasn't got a hope of ever getting on the property ladder because, like I said before, I'm all right, Jack. Which is partly why old people continue to vote for the Conservative Party because I'm all right, Jack. And to hell with anybody else. What does blow my mind is that poor people continue to vote for the Conservative Party. I mean, you can understand why rich pensioners would. And the vast majority of the wealth that has been created since the economic crash of 2007 has gone to those over the age of, over the age of 60. The already haves, in other words, the haves and the have-yots. Everybody else has got nothing. And the result of that is that property prices have just gone skyrocketing. Up and up and up and up, till it's absolutely impossible for anybody young, like that person I was just talking to, when she got her house. Nobody that age can get their house now, unless, it's the bank of mum and dad. And mum and dad happen to be rich. But, sure, yeah, it's Jeremy Corbyn's fault. Yeah, no doubt. Ian says, I always thought earlobes had no function. How wrong was I? Incorrect, Ian. It's to mute your phone, obviously. It's what God intended. Oh, I missed it. Oh, that would have been... never mind. A God noise would have ensued, but the moment's gone. Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, can we talk about refugees a bit?
Oh, all right then.
You had a debate about our national refugee policy. Was it incompetence or policy?
Yeah.
Well, I was listening to a girl today speaking from Poland, and her family had put themselves on the list for taking refugees. And this is a parent's house. This girl was in the 20s, and to coordinate it, she went over to Poland to meet some refugees and facilitate them coming to stay with her mum and dad.
Right.
And it took her 5 hours to process the first one of a family of 4 to be able to come to UK, because the refugees had to answer so many questions about their sponsor in UK that she said she spent most of the 5 hours on the phone to England with her parents going through their filing cabinet to explain what mortgage they'd got. And details such as that the refugees had to provide before they could hook up with their English sponsor.
I'm amazed that they allowed that plane that was flying in Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe to land without her providing her last 3 electricity bills.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a policy that they've made it as difficult as possible for these refugees.
It's not like a policy that's made it as difficult as possible. It is the policy that's making it as difficult as possible. That's because that is their unique selling point. The Tories are in power because of their enmity towards foreigners. That's their thing. Why would they change that? Because that's what their fans like. This thing that's happened has just taken them by surprise, because even their fans are repulsed by their attitude now. And so that's why it's taken them... the Tory party just stood there with their mouths open going, well, hang on a minute, you voted for us because we hate foreigners. You like them now? And I think the reason why it's this hiving off the responsibility onto us rather than they do something about it. And I think, and I have said this on the air before, I think that it was, all right, then you like refugees so much, you put one up in your house, and that's where we are.
Yeah, I mean, you can regard Priti Patel as incompetent. I mean, but Gove...
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's incompetence. I don't think they're errors. I think this is the plan. It's working really well. It's not working badly. It's working really well.
Yeah, but if you look at Gove, I mean, he might be a twisted little disco dancer, but he's not stupid. So it has to be a policy. It definitely cannot be incompetence on that one.
Is there any doubt?
Not at all. But anyway, last point, quickly. Boris Johnson goes over to Saudi, right?
Yeah.
Now, the Saudis and the Iranians are daggers drawn. They hate each other.
Yes.
So why would you go over to Saudi the day after you've paid the Iranians 400 million quid and then ask for a favour off them? It's utterly insane. The timing was so ridiculous. I mean, he just got cold-shouldered over there. You could see it on all the interviews and everything else.
Yeah, he went there and got nothing. Yeah, all right, Mike, I've got to go. Thanks, mate. 0345 6060 973. It's just past 12:30. The news headlines with...
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Sadly, yes. Anthony texts, Nick, please remind Mrs. I'm All Right Jack that she got her opportunity to buy Council House at a massive discount funded by other taxpayers. If only we'd all been so lucky, eh? Jim says the power cuts of the early 1970s happened halfway through the 1970 to 74 Conservative government. That's right. Yeah. They even do that today. Tory politicians even do that today. They blame Labour for something that happened when they were in power, assuming probably that people won't check or won't remember the dates. The 3-day week was 1973 to 74, when Ted Heath was in power. You know, all the nice boys like a sailor. That bloke. Ted Heath, the Conservative Prime Minister. I could give you a little history lesson. I could read that out, but you can look it up yourself. History. Boring. Keith says, I had a colonoscopy when Blair was Prime Minister, and it was awful. I voted Conservative and I haven't had one since. Life is comfortable, says Keith. A little bit too much information there, Keith.
Disgusting.
0345 6060 973. Manchester. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
I want to bring it back, to be fair, because one of your earlier calls said, I vote Conservative, essentially because it fits their lifestyle. And as someone, I'm only 27, quite young, from the north, it all seems a selfish point of view every single time. Every time we talk to a Conservative voter, it's because it meets their ends more than it, I suppose, meets the collective. And I think this community sense no longer exists.
Yeah, well, that seems indisputable. Yeah, it is the I'm all right, Jack party. But what is weird is that those who have nothing vote the most for the Conservative Party. That's the demographic that they rely on the most. Those who have nothing.
Yeah, which I agree. But I think maybe it's the pressure of, I suppose, the I'm all right Jacks have been voting I'm all right for so long and have such an influence over, the people who don't understand if they're all right or not all right, that they're being influenced too easily to think that perhaps we'll be all right if we listen to the people who theoretically are. And there needs a real step in to go, actually, these people aren't your friends. They do not have your best interest in heart. And there needs a real education. You get things like Double Down News and whatnot, which seem too extremist for people to actually subscribe to. And then people still subscribe to, I suppose, everyday media without actually wanting to go a bit beyond that. And
without understanding that every day the papers are almost all owned by offshore foreign billionaires whose interests with the poor do not coincide. They're not on your side, people.
Would you say though that they're not on your side because they're not British owned, or would you say they're not on your side because they're offshore owned? Because no. I would say it doesn't matter if they're offshore or not. If they're owned by billionaires, those billionaires do not know what it's like to live in a red brick council estate. It's not
that they don't know. It's that their interests are opposing. Millionaires and billionaires, the number one thing that is most important to them, it seems to me, is paying less tax. Tax, if you're a millionaire or upwards, is for the benefit of the little people. They're not remotely interested in the NHS. They're never going to use it. They go straight to private medicine. They're not really bothered about the police. They live behind walls. They have their own security patrols. They're not interested in a welfare safety net. They'll never need it. All of this stuff that bleeds out of their bank accounts is going to help people not like them. That's why they're so obsessed with paying less tax.
They're interested in tax rebates, though, aren't they?
Well, that's what that accounts to paying less tax.
That's just, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, I'm only younger. I've only been on the planet for not a very long time. Getting miserable with it as it stands.
Well, yeah, it's the planet's not going through a great phase at the moment, Daniel, but I'm sure it'll get better in the end. Unless the actual end comes before that. But best of luck with it, Daniel. Thanks a lot, mate. See, when you, if you, say, earn £2 million a year, and the tax is at 10%. Now, that 10% tax, that sounds great, doesn't it? Oh, God, if only tax was 10%, wouldn't that be marvellous? But if you earn £2 million a year, if you get 10% tax, that's £200,000 you're going to have to give up. That's massive. Even if it's 10%, it's not the percentage, it's the amount the percentage is levied on. That's the thing. I mean, if tax was 10% as a flat rate and you earn 20 grand, then that's just 2,000 a year. 2,000 is a small amount of money. I mean, it would mean a lot to somebody who was on 20 grand, but it's still a small amount, 2,000. But 200,000, that's massive. So no wonder they want to reduce the amount of tax they see, because 200 grand, blimey, that's a Lamborghini, that is. Nobody wants to write that cheque. Doesn't matter how much you earn, because apparently no amount is ever enough. I mean, why would a billionaire get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work, to stare at a screen and move numbers about, or whatever it is they do for a living? Because too much is never enough. 0345 6060 973. Brian texts, Nick, Nye Bevin, classic quote, how can wealth persuade poverty to use its political power to keep wealth in power? Here lies the whole art of conservative politics in the 20th century. Works just as well in the 21st century. You know, there's a classic cartoon that I see every now and again, and it's three people sitting around a desk. One of them is a worker in a hard hat. One of them is obviously a refugee of some sort, like a foreigner. And one of them, just for the purposes of this cartoon, is Rupert Murdoch. And before each one of them, there's a plate with which has got biscuits on it. Now, the worker has got 2 biscuits on his plate. The refugee has no biscuits, and Rupert Murdoch's plate is so full of biscuits that it's spilling out over the table. And the legend underneath is Rupert Murdoch saying to the guy in the hard hat, he says, watch out, mate, that bloke's after your biscuits. And there it is in a nutshell. Dinghy spotting. Let's have Ealing. Hello, John.
Hello.
John.
Hey, I tell you what, it amazes me. You spoke to one of your callers, and I don't criticise callers because obviously everyone deserves an opinion, whatever to carry on. But the idea, right, that, Thatcher is this kind of paragon of virtues. When you think about it, we're beholden to Russia, to China, to Saudi Arabia, and France and whomever, because we sold all of our assets off.
Correct. Yes, for a short-term profit for people, for a vanishingly few number of people. We didn't get anything from it.
Yes, and that's it. And now we're being held ransom by them. This is why Putin thinks he can do what he wants. This is why even China and Saudi Arabia. Boris will go and do a deal and they'll laugh in his face because they know we're so dependent. It's like we're junkies, dependent on a source of some kind of narcotic. And the thing is, what amazes me is Boris Johnson will come out with a statement like that. And the bottom line is then he goes cap in hand to Saudi Arabia.
What we changed from under Thatcher was a country that made stuff, like Germany is now, to a country that moves numbers around on a screen for, so we come to find out, for the benefit of the international criminal super rich who come here for us to launder their cash clean. The result,
and I've met these people.
The result
Nick,
of which,
I've worked.
The result of which is bringing in all of this money means that us poor dopes who pay taxes now can't really afford to live here anymore.
No, of course. And the thing is, I never thought I was going to get words of wisdom from the Terminator, but he's bang on. What he said.
What did he say?
Oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was more or less saying along the lines of, this idea that they're trying to denazify.
Oh, that, yeah.
And he was doing parallels about. I think his father was a Nazi. I mean, that's not a good opening gambit. That bit, but he made a lot of sense what he said, and apparently a lot of people are actually downloading what he said.
I think it's up to like 25 million views at the moment.
Yeah,
something like that. Last time I looked, so it's probably way over that now. That Arnold Schwarzenegger is like direct to Vladimir Putin, basically, or the Russian people essentially. And I thought it was pretty good speech.
Sold a load of rhubarb.
Yeah.
Could I also say, Nick, when I hear Boris Johnson talk a load of rhubarb, and then I hear Jacob Rees-Mogg say things along the line of, "Oh well, it's just fluff. It's just a load of fluff." Yeah. People died. I have people I know that have died. I'm sure everyone does that is listening to this thing. And this isn't the problem. Is with the elderly. You see, this is the thing with them. Is they confuse patriotism with voting. They think if they vote Conservative, they're somehow being patriotic. The point is, though, Boris Johnson is kind of a Russian stooge, and so is Donald Trump. If you think about it, we're a joke across the whole of the world because we just go cap in hand from one disaster to another.
I just wonder where this is going to go, because as we were just saying, what we do for a living now is to launder the ill-gotten gains of the international criminal super rich, who now we are being forced into repelling. We only now, as the Conservative government, actually making some small move towards actually finding out where this money is coming from, because the way in which to keep it coming in is to ask no questions, and they're being forced now to ask questions. So the money, our way of making a living, might be going somewhere else. And because we don't make anything anymore, what are we going to do? Thanks, John. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
0345 6060 973. I'll be totally fair about this. Who's been waiting the longest? Bromley. Hello, Luke.
Hello. Hi, good evening.
Luke.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Are we on speakerphone?
Yeah, I'm just taking your phone. Thanks. Sorry about that.
Uh-oh.
I'm here. How you doing?
Go ahead.
Okay, so my situation, my thoughts were, what would the world have been like if it wasn't for the war? Where would Trudeau be? Where would Boris be? Where would Macron be? Where would Australia be? The way they were treating their people over the pandemic, so-called pandemic. I wonder where they'd be if it wasn't for this massive distraction.
Well, Bodger would probably be, you know what, he's just so weirdly lucky. He would have probably slithered through those travails and survived. As for the rest of them, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you say Boris, but the others were far worse in the way they treated the people. At least Boris, made some whatever, as you mentioned. But look at Trudeau. I mean, he's suppressed the lorry drivers who get some good momentum.
Oh, please, those lorry drivers, do me a favour. There was the pretense of a grassroots campaign, but it was absolutely nothing of the sort. It was the usual right-wingers, the sort of dark right-wing money that was propelling them to do that. You know, something of the order of 85% of lorry drivers actually had the vaccine. What the hell were they complaining about? Propelled to do it. Nonsense. Don't believe a word of it, Luke. Wandsworth. Hello, Thomas.
Hello, lad.
Thomas.
How are you doing, all right?
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to talk about Boris Johnson and the NATO agreement.
You want to talk about Boris Johnson and the NATO agreement?
I think he should do more.
Do more what?
I think he needs to negotiate.
I think that's another... I think he switched his phone off with his earlobe. It's another one of those. It's another earlobe catastrophe.
Oh,
no. We'll never know. But thanks a lot, Thomas. That was excellent. Congleton. Hello, David.
Hiya, good morning.
David.
Yeah, a few things.
Couple of three things.
Yeah, like the first thing, I always, for a long time, I was brought up at working class who voted Labour, yeah?
Right.
Now then, but what people seem to forget is with the Conservative government, remember when the poll tax first come in?
Vaguely.
It was £500 per person per household.
Right.
Right. So out of our house, then I think my mum at the time, I'm not 100% certain, I think our rates on the house was about £600 a year, I think. I can't just remember perfectly right.
Right.
Well then, there were 6 of us in our house.
Yeah.
So our rates, say, went from £600 a year to £3,000 going out.
Right.
Because there was me, obviously, my mum, my dad, me, my brother, and 2 sisters.
Couple of sisters, yeah.
So, yeah, so that's what people forget about then. And then, when you was going about, about the housing being sold off.
Right.
Well, if you think about it, it was a very clever ploy, because if people then, the working, we can buy a house, which we did at a bit later time. But if you think about it, it was a good ploy, because if you've got the good old working class now having to pay for the house, they ain't going to cause as much either, i.e. going on strike.
Yes. Plus, if you own a house, then you have a treasure to protect, and those who own houses are more likely to vote Conservative than those who don't.
Most of them, yeah. I mean, my mum and dad were still staunch Labour voters. They were, right? But you see, it was like a lot of people were saying, you got that thing then, you see, because you've lived in your council house for X number of years, you can get it cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So folk are thinking, right, they've got the whole own house and one thing and another, like my mum and dad did.
Basically, it was gerrymandering. It was a way to rig the polls so that the Conservative Party would just win and win and win. Get people out of council houses, get them to buy their own house at a discount so that everybody was paying for it, but not everybody actually benefited. And if you own your own house or you got a mortgage on it, then you're more likely to vote Conservative. It was just a scam.
No, I know all about that. Now then, now the other one is, right, where I worked 16 years ago, right, we asked for a bit of a wage rise.
Right.
And there was only 8 of us worked at this company, a recycling company. And the first thing that we got told, well, we can get Polish people work cheaper.
Yeah.
So that's a smack on the like what they've done now with P&O Ferry lads, isn't it?
Right.
Similar sort of thing.
We were persuaded to leave the EU to avoid that happening, and to no surprise to anybody at all, apart from, I guess, ardent leavers, the exact same thing happened. P&O, exactly.
Yeah. And the other one is it's like you got Rishi Sunak there. He sits there smiling away, like you say, he's a multi-millionaire.
Billionaire.
Isn't he? Yeah, well, you know what I mean. And isn't he married to a billionaire's daughter?
Well, yeah, he's got $1 billion in the family. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see, it's like that. You see, I mean, it's like with how the fuel prices have been now. I mean, if a gallon of petrol was 50 quid a gallon, it wouldn't make a dent on his pocket.
He wouldn't even notice it.
No, we just ripped off out. We really, end of the day, your normal working folk in this country just get bent over and attacked, don't you know what I mean?
And they say, thank you, sir, may I have another? And then they vote Conservative again. It's bizarre. David, I've got to go, but thanks for that. Let's see if I can squeeze one more in. Hampshire. Hello, Colin.
Hi.
Colin.
Hi. I just wanted to go back to your idea of this 10% tax rate.
Yes.
Nobody's ever going to take it to 10%.
No, I was just doing it at 10% for ease of maths.
No, I understand that. I do understand that. But the reason why people who have made huge fortunes have been probably started quite modestly, like the chap with the vacuum cleaners. I mean, he's taken his billions and factories away after being very successful in the UK.
Yeah.
But the point I would like to make to you is that if tax rates were obliterated altogether up to a certain level, in other words, let's say £25,000, at 25,000, if people had no tax at 25,000, but anything over that was then taxed at, say, and I'm just taking a figure off the wall, 30%.
Yeah.
In my perception, and I do work in this arena, everybody would pay it.
Rubbish.
Well, you say rubbish because that's a bit too dismissive.
Well, it's not dismissive, it's just true. It's human nature. If you had to write a cheque for whatever 30% of, say, £300,000, if you were making that kind of money, then you just wouldn't do it. You would do everything in your power to avoid doing that.
Just hold on. I don't think that's necessarily true. So
absolutely true. There's an entire infrastructure in the City of London to make that happen, so that people who earn that kind of money do not have to pay the tax. And it's not that they don't want to pay as much tax, it's that they don't want to pay any tax. Hence the existence of all of these tax havens out in the middle of the bright blue sea, with the Union Jack fluttering from their government buildings. It's not that they want to save a little bit of money, they want to save all of the money that they would have paid in tax, Colin, which you must know full well, being, as you say, in that business. I'm going to be back at 10 o'clock tonight. I've got so much to talk about tonight that I didn't get around to today. Oh, you wouldn't believe it. If you stick around, I do believe that, let's see, Ian Payne is here at 4, but first it's Clive Ball.
Oh, yes, there we are. Yes, it's me between now and 4 o'clock. And coming up, as Jacob Rees-Mogg dismisses the Partygate scandal as disproportionate fluff, has your view of Boris Johnson's leadership actually changed? 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 Johnson's leadership